everybody, and welcome back to VAR Espresso. You join us for another episode and a monumental one, as we have our first Club World Cup finalist in this new format. It is Chelsea, and it was a good game, thankfully. So we have plenty to talk about. Joining me today, we have, as ever, Leo, who refuses to leave. Hi, Leo.
Hi.
And we also have Patrick joining us. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Daniel. Hi, Leo.
Hi,
Hi,
Daniel.
If you see me looking down at some point, we also have my dog who will not leave me alone today. Right, so let's jump straight into it. Of course, a semi-final Club World Cup. Fluminense 0, Chelsea 2. It was a fantastic game. It was a very balanced game, and it was the sort of game that actually we all wanted, rather than one team steamrolling it. Leo, let's start with you. For you, do you want to talk about the highlights first of all? Because there were some fantastic goals in this.
Yeah. I think that was the main point of this game, because 2 or 3 days ago I said I would find the decision, Maresca's decision to leave Nicolas Jackson on the bench and privilege 𝐊𝐢𝐜𝐤 Pedro as a starter would be quite a strong message sent to Jackson, because 𝐊𝐢𝐜𝐻 Pedro just transferred to Chelsea. He never played with them. It's a semi-final in an international competition, so there is a context very, we can say, difficult for him. Also with the weather, he has to adapt to. The fact that in the US it's not the same time as in the UK. So yeah, and he gave me wrong, because he scored just 2 beautiful goals, exceptionals, and he was good in the game. It was not only about these 2 goals, it was about general performance. Very interesting from the Brazilian, and he has shown everything he could add to this team. With he is strong, he's technically, he has technical abilities, he's kind of fast, he can play everywhere on the front of the line. So yeah, he signed his debut by the best way possible, the best possible way.
Yeah, completely agree. Patrick, I obviously, having seen 𝐊𝐤𝐜 Pedro play a fair amount for Brighton and assumedly for Watford as well at some point, what is it specifically about 𝐊𝐤𝐜 Pedro that you think will fit into this Chelsea side more so than Jackson? Obviously, this is after 1 start, but it does seem like a natural fit, doesn't it? What about 𝐊𝐤𝐜 Pedro do you think just works in this team?
He's fast. He's a fast player. He can cut inside, so he can turn defenders, sort of twist their blood, as we'd say. He creates a lot more opportunities as well, I think. Watching him for Brighton especially, he was a player I sat back and just enjoyed watching. I think he's just a very, very fun player to watch. He's a lot of motivation, a great engine. I think being in Brighton, he's sort of that's drilled into them to be looking for closing that gap, getting that attack started, turnovers, constant pressing. So I think it will suit, especially as Chelsea seem to be going for a very attack-laden team this year with the amount of attackers they're bringing in. I think he does stand above Jackson at the minute, just in those key elements of being able to press, keeping hold of the ball, turning in on a defender, and what you saw yesterday, his ability to hit a ball is unbelievable. 2 monumental strikes by miles, the 2 highlights of the match. But yeah, I think he's going to fit in well. I think he'll work well sitting back and letting the midfield sort of pass into him as well. So he runs towards the midfield and doesn't slouch up front and wait for the ball to come to him. He will go towards the ball and seek those opportunities as well.
Well, a stunning debut. But let's talk about the match itself. Obviously, semi-finals and knockout football, often close matches are decided on individual moments. We've talked about the first one already, João Pedro's opening goal, beautifully cut in from the left and curled into the top corner. Fantastic strike. But then, not so long after, Fluminense have an incredible chance of their own, but it was cleared off the line, which was 𝐊𝐤𝐤, I think, who cleared off the line. Yes, so it's these moments that count. So, like, Leo, do you think Fluminense gave as good as they got? Do you think this was a fairly even match? Do you think they actually did themselves justice?
Yeah, as you said during the introduction, it was a very balanced game, and I think everything could have been different if the 𝐊𝐤𝐤's handball in the box weren't overturned by the VAR. And to be honest, I didn't understand this decision, because in my opinion it's clearly a handball and then a penalty for Fluminense. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, in that case, Patrick, do you want to jump in and give your opinion on it?
Yeah, I do think his arm was... I would disagree with Leo on this one. I normally agree with him, but I don't think his arm was out too far. I don't think it was unnatural. I thought it would have been quite harsh. So, no VARs there. I was pretty certain it was going to be overturned. I thought it would have been incredibly harsh on Chelsea for that to be given as a penalty. As far as Fluminense, I think they gave as good as they could. I think Chelsea just obviously have a stronger squad, of more ability to bring like top players off the bench. So I think Fluminense, to their credit, put in as good a performance as they could. But like Chelsea just have the better weapons, and they've sort of, I don't know, tap danced almost their way to this final.
Yeah, that's not an exaggeration, really. But going back to the penalty, because like I say, so Chelsea have opened the scoring with a great goal, and it was a great. Chelsea didn't create that many opportunities, certainly nothing clear cut, and obviously scoring a goal like that is hard to prevent. Then 𝐊𝐤𝐤, a moment of individual quality in defensive responsibilities, clearing off the line. So had the handball stood, Leo, you think that could have changed the course of the game? Because obviously at the time that would have been a chance to go 1-1.
Yeah, but every time, you know how football match works, and especially with South American team, Brazilians, who showed its mental capacities through the competition. I think it could have helped to change that, because they could have scored on a set piece, for example, or a corner. But I totally agree with you that Chelsea controlled the game, especially the first half, with a strong start. But just to bounce back on the penalty situation, the problem in that kind of situation is, what's the rule? Because we all know that it's super subjective, because the ref has the final word on it. But what is it? Every weekend in the Premier League, in Ligue 1, everywhere, we see handballs, and we never know what is a penalty or what isn't. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. This is the only rule I don't understand in football, because there is no actual rule about that.
Yeah, and actually I was about to bring this up, the inconsistent messaging behind this. So the rule obviously is meant to be, the referee decides has a decision, then VAR check it, and it's meant to be just a howler. It's meant to be an absolute error that they then send the referee to the monitor. But there's always this thing of, but if it's in doubt, then you go with the referee's decision, which makes sense. Now, it does seem that there has been a recent change to the handball rule, yet another one, about sort of to be kinder to natural positions. Because originally it was just, if the ball hits the hand anywhere in the penalty area and it's in an unnatural position, it's a handball, right? So you can understand why the referee gave penalty, because it hit his hand. I suppose then what VAR showed was his hand was next to his body, and actually you see in the replay, his action is to bring his arms close to his body as he possibly could. So I suppose in that point, it's like, well, the alternative would have been him keeping his arms out to let the ball pass. And at that point, you're asking footballers to completely ignore their instincts as, just intelligence, as sort of arms out of the way or arms up here, and sort of you can't go back and forth. So I think that's why they sort of sent the referee to the bottom monitor, sort of suggesting that there's the arms, although it has definitely hit the hand, they are by his side, and there's not really anything he could have done. So actually, I mean, personally, I love the fact that they sent the referee to the screen for that, because, as Patrick said, I think I would have found that incredibly harsh. But then to Leo's point, that's not consistent with VAR use, even in the last 6 months. So what is it going forward? Patrick, is that something that you've noticed about VAR and that infuriated you about VAR, the consistency of it?
Yeah, it's frustrated me from day one, and I think you touched on it well, Daniel. I think the main worry is that it takes footballers out of the moment, out of their natural instincts way too often. We've already seen it with the obvious one being when a goal scored. There's always a pause to go, like, if they're celebrating, is this a goal? Like, can I celebrate? And is that horrible weight, which kills the spontaneity, like stops the enjoyment as much for the fans. But yeah, we're seeing it seep into handballs a lot more. It is very frustrating how many, like, the subjectivity of it. I do think there needs to be a proper sit down between, I don't know if that's to be UEFA, FIFA, all the organizations just sit down and say, look, this has been an issue for years now. We need to make one rule to go across all confederations and stick to it. But yeah, I could see it's the instinct for the fan, as you say. If the alternative was to hold your arms up and let the ball go past you, like, that's complete. Yeah. That's putting too much thought process into it.
But it's also contradictory, right? Because obviously we know that if your arms are up there and the ball hits your hand, regardless of how close you are to the ball, you're kind of foolish to put your arms in that position. Therefore, it's a penalty. I understand that rule. It seems harsh, but you are gaining an advantage being that big. But then, obviously, once your arms are sort of anywhere near your body, really, and it hits your hand, then it gets subjective, right? Then it's how close are you to the ball? So, for example, if the shot's been taken and you're standing 10 yards away from the ball, and it still hits your hand, then that's more subjective, right? A case of like, maybe you could have actually moved slightly out of the way, or have you moved your body / arm towards it? All of that. But again, it's messy, and it's getting the way I've heard like Gary Lineker talk about it is they've tied themselves in knots. Because they've kind of gone back on ideas, and some ideas contradict each other. Yeah, you just kind of, it's like the offside rule. You just kind of wish that it was plain and simple. If they're offside, in an offside position, it is offside. You understand all these sub-laws about whether they're interfering with play or whatever, but it's also a lot simpler just to say, oh, they're offside.
Yeah. And I think for the penalty, it's different than for the offside, because offside is binary. A player is or isn't offside. But for penalty, as you said, it's only subjectivity. So it's way more difficult to judge.
But then that brings us back to the women's Euros, England against France, offside being subjective, because there's a case of like, where does the body start? Because you had that incredible image of two players lined up next to each other. And they say like, okay, well, the England player's body starts at this part of the sleeve, and the French player's part starts at this part of the sleeve. And then at that point, it's like, this doesn't feel right. This feels
players wearing jumpers to matches. French coats.
Infuriating, but still. So you could argue that Fluminense were very unfortunate to remain behind, despite the fact that Chelsea were in control. They weren't creating these clear-cut opportunities, and Fluminense were in the game throughout. Yeah. What do you think, Leo? What do you think was missing from Fluminense? Because obviously, again, had a shot cleared off the line, had a penalty overturned. So this is like unfortunate as opposed to anything else. But they also didn't create that many other opportunities. So what do you think they were lacking in the final third?
I think they were lacking of sharpness, because Chelsea did have the João Pedro's second goal illustrates that. They just recovered the ball and he goes through and just scored. He's little. He killed Fluminense, and I think this is where Fluminense could have done better. It's easier to say than doing, but yeah. And the main difference also was that 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 did a great game to prevent Fluminense's midfielder and forwards to attack.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, sort of thinking about the second goal, because obviously Fluminense were pushing forward for the equaliser, and they were kind of caught. It was this strange situation where they looked like they were about to have this great attack, and then they sort of it broke down. Then they tried again, and then there was an interception, and suddenly Pedro is completely free on the right, I guess. So
because we have to say that Sanchez did some saves during this game.
Yeah, true. Okay, so Patrick, Chelsea are in the final. Do you think they have been one of the best teams in the tournament, or do you think it is purely because of the luck of the draw? Because without doubt, they've had the easiest, quote unquote, run in the competition.
Yeah, they have been good. They've been getting progressively better, especially round of 16 quarterfinals. Solid performances, Palmer's playing consistently well. I think Enzo Fernandez and Moses Caicedo work beautifully together. Caicedo sort of holding back, allowing Fernandez to distribute the ball a lot. I think the luck of the draw, though, it's like, as soon as Man City and Inter Milan were knocked out, I'm sure the Chelsea game plan changed a lot. They could sort of, not that they were getting ahead of themselves, but they could sort of sit back and go, we may not have to be as aggressive as pressing. Our stamina levels, we might be able to manage them in-game better. So, yeah, I think they'll go in pretty refreshed and feeling pretty good that they were on that side of the draw. And obviously Al Hilal did them a favour with defeating City. But there's no doubt they're a talented team, and there will be a force in the final. I'm sure whoever gets through tonight, I'm sure it's going to be a very entertaining final.
Well, let's talk about that then before Patrick heads off in just a few minutes. Leo, would you mind giving an argument about why PSG would win this match and why Real Madrid would win this match?
Tonight's game or the final?
This game.
Oh, okay. I think for PSG to win, it's because they are the best team in the tournament. It's quite simple, but from everything we've seen, PSG are just better than their opponents. And as I said a few times in the show, Chelsea, even yesterday, they won. It was a good game from them, but I wasn't impressed by their performance, and I was never impressed by theirs during the whole tournament. They won, they qualified to the final, but they didn't face. I don't think they face an opponent that could put the lights on all their qualities. An opponent like Manchester City, it's not their fault because Manchester City were eliminated. They were qualified in the easiest part of the table. But
sorry to jump in. So arguably, they could hypothetically had all the favourites finish first and second as we expected. Their route to the final would have been, I think, in the quarterfinal would have been either Manchester City or Inter Milan. Yeah, and then the semi-final would probably have been, I think, Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
Well, arguably, so it's significantly harder. But then you've got to give credit to the teams that actually knocked them all out.
Yeah, of course. We can't blame Chelsea to have seized their opportunities to qualify. But the thing is that PSG, through their group stage, especially Atletico, then first half versus Inter Miami, they will face now Real Madrid. So we saw what they were capable of. We knew it previously, but Chelsea played without lacking of respect for Brazilian teams. Flamengo beat Chelsea in the group stage. We didn't see them play against a powerhouse, a European powerhouse, because European football, as we all know, is the best football in the world.
Mm. Well, they are technically a European champion. It's just the lowest level of European champion. Yeah. Patrick, so similar to you. So Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid, obviously both exceptional teams, but they're both missing key players in their defense. Why? So rather than asking, like I asked Leo, why do you think each team would win? Why? Give me some reasons why Paris Saint-Germain might lose, and the same for Real Madrid. What do you think their weaknesses are, or the things to be careful of?
PSG weak. I suppose, yeah, with the suspensions, PSG probably have to alter their game plan a little bit. But
so their starting lineup. So it's Paco, who's suspended for this match, the centre back. So I mean, I think Theo. Remind me, is it Lucas Hernandez, Leo, in this one?
Yeah.
Theo. Oh, okay, it's Lucas. I got it right this time. Always get mixed up. Because obviously he's second choice left back behind Nuno Mendes. But Paco is the starting centre back. So would you be concerned, say, if you were a Paris Saint-Germain supporter, that you've got this new central defensive partnership going up against the likes of Vinicius Junior, Mbappe, and so on?
No, I can say simply no. I think PSG are just so full of confidence, so well drilled, that I don't see anything stopping them. I can see an entertaining match. I think there's more headaches for Alonso when he started Mbappe. I don't know what your thoughts are. I don't think it would be wise for him to start Mbappe, but I'm sure Mbappe is knocking the door, saying, the whole sort of personal element of PSG, so maybe a little bit of revenge in his heart there with that one. But no, I can see PSG being able to bring in anytime they substitute off a player, bring another player in, that player is equally as, like, not maybe as high level, but they're all doing a great job. They all play well, gel brilliantly as a team. And yeah, I just think the periods of attack they can overwhelm any team. Whereas
Leo, could you? Sorry, you don't think?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say I don't think that Madrid have that ability to overwhelm.
Fair enough. Leo, who is next? So it's Marquinhos and Paco at the minute, but who would be the next choice centre back for Paris?
I think it will be Lucas Beraldo, Brazilian, who joined PSG in 2023. He has not really played in the team, but. Just to bounce back on what Patrick said, I just have to disagree on a thing, because I think he's right, and PSG have proved it, that they have qualities, confidence, and everything. But when you play against players like Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, or Jude Bellingham, you don't really know what to expect, because they are so talented that they can have the game of their life, even if for the 5-10 previous games they weren't really in the mood. Or so I think it will be complicated tonight for the PSG's defense. And the game, the main point, the key point to that game will be the midfield, because we have seen Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, and João Neves for PSG being really, really good during all the season. Now we will see what they are capable of against Real Madrid. And I keep guessing how Xabi Alonso will orchestrate his system tonight. Will he keep his 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, or 3-5-2, depending on the way he wants, or having a back four.
Yeah, as well, because obviously, Huijsen's suspension might dictate that. But of course, Raul Asensio returns, so they have the bodies. It's just that whether they have the right players to play back three. I suppose I think we're all in agreement that Paris Saint-Germain will probably win. I guess what I'm looking for in regards to weaknesses, and this is why I ask about sort of the defensive replacement for Paris Saint-Germain, because obviously if you have Mbappe and Vinicius Junior and they do that thing where they dovetail each other on the left-hand side, that suppresses Hakimi's ability to go forwards, obviously. Now, obviously, on the other side, you got Nuno Mendes running right down the left, and this is what's happened against teams like Liverpool and Arsenal, right, where Paris Saint-Germain deliberately they kept Nuno Mendes as a defensive player, and he did fantastically against Saka,
Mohamed
against
Salah.
Salah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But of course, now this is on the other side, and you think that, okay, well, in keeping Hakimi back, you assume that Hakimi's going to be a lot more defensive, because obviously, if there's going to be a new defender starting next to him, that you feel like they could be extremely exposed against the likes of Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. if there isn't sufficient cover.
But I think Marquinhos will play alongside Hakimi, and Beraldo will play as next to Nuno Mendes. So I think Mendes will be more defensive than Hakimi in that game.
Yeah, despite the fact Real Madrid don't attack down the right as much as the left.
Yeah, I think it could be. And my question is, do you think Mbappe will start tonight? Because I think the question exists.
I think so. But truthfully, I mean, I know it was made a thing that he basically had acute gastroenteritis, or however you say it, which is essentially quite a bad stomach bug.
Yeah.
But you can lose a fair bit of weight, and obviously with extreme heat and stuff, you just wonder. Basically, the physicality of it, like, does he actually? If he starts, he almost certainly will have to come off after about an hour. And do you want to play that card? So, say for example, if you're losing, do you want to take Mbappe off after an hour, or do you want the ability to bring him on if you're losing? I think that's the choice. Patrick, anything else to add on this match tonight before you head off?
Yeah, no, I just think that Real Madrid will probably be quite glad to watch footage of Bayern, because Bayern really, really did cause long periods of frustration. So I think it's a great blueprint for Real Madrid going into this match. I personally would rather see Mbappe come on as a sort of one of the best impact sub possible, as opposed to start early and maybe, like, I don't know what the temperatures are like, but if it's anything like yesterday's match, we're talking about 35 degrees at kickoff. So like if he's lost weight, then that won't help at all. But I just hope to see a massive fight at Ding Dong. I can see about maybe 4 or 5 goals if it's free flowing. I go PSG to edge it, but I think just before I go, the probably real winners are FIFA and UEFA, because they've got their dream of Chelsea getting into their bracket after seeing the other teams drop off, and now Real Madrid or PSG. So it's a big win for them. But thanks very much, guys.
You're welcome.
Lovely having you. Thank you for joining us, Patrick. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Take care.
Goodbye.
Well, as we farewell to Patrick for another day, shall we move on? So also yesterday we had Group C in the Women's European Championship. We had Germany defeating Denmark and Sweden defeating Poland. So that means both Germany and Sweden have qualified from Group C, and both Denmark and Poland have been eliminated. But not so predictably, Sweden now top the group. And the last match will be Sweden against Germany. Did you see either of these games? Did you see the highlights for these?
Oh, mainly the Germany versus the Denmark. The Germany's comeback.
Sorry, go on.
I think it's quite deserved for Germany because they had a dominant second half. They shot a lot of times against Denmark, which shots were just about 5 or 6, I think. I noted that it was a record attendance for a non-host match for at the Euros. It was
34,000.
34,000. Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Yeah, the atmosphere was really, really good. Also.
And also, this might be a bit of a basic point, but it also helps that the host nation is very much central. You know, Switzerland is very much in the middle of basically every other European country. And so just from a geographic point of view, getting it easier. Please continue.
And we talked about VAR for the Chelsea versus Fluminense, and it played a role in this game.
Huge role.
Yeah, especially in the second half.
So, for those who didn't see, my report will be going out shortly. I haven't quite finished the second one, hence why it's not out already. But yes, in the first half, Germany thought they'd open the scoring after 18 minutes after 𝐊𝐤𝐤 finished a lovely finish from just inside the edge of the box. But it went through the legs of 𝐊𝐤𝐤, who was ruled to be offside and in the goalkeeper's eye line. So VAR ruled that out. Later on, in the 37th minute, Germany were awarded a penalty after defender Thorgensen handled the ball after a cross, and then VAR reviewed that and showed that the handball had happened just outside the penalty area. And in between those two incidents, Denmark actually took the lead.
Yeah.
Did you see the goal? Do you want to talk about the goal? Because it feels like it was not quite a goalkeeping error, but any shot that goes in at the near post, the goalkeeper's always that question.
Yeah,
right?
Because for me, a goalkeeper should never consider a goal on its near post, because it's the basis of the job to just close the angle. And yeah, it was not the best result for.
But having said that, it was still a fantastic strike by Vangsgaard.
Yeah. Also, we have to say, and because it struck me, but yeah, the referee had a really difficult game, because talking about the goal, Snerler's head injury.
You mean the second goal? Sorry.
Yeah.
With that case, let's go sequentially. So at halftime, it's 1-0 to Denmark, despite the fact that Germany were completely dominant, despite the fact that Germany had missed several chances, and obviously unfortunate with VAR. But only, I think it's 7-8 minutes after halftime, Germany do get a penalty, although not initially. Dolman goes over in the penalty area, and only after VAR review and referee being sent to the monitor, she sees that there's been a trip, and 𝐊𝐤𝐤𝐤 calmly slots the penalty away. Before we go to the next point, so 𝐊𝐤𝐤𝐤, obviously, before, when Germany were ordered a penalty in the 37th minute, she was stood there with the ball on the penalty spot, and it was a good 2.5 minutes wait for VAR before then it was given as a free kick instead. So how does it speak volume? Do you think it speaks volumes of 𝐊𝐤𝐤𝐤, the ability to sort of do that again and still bury the penalty? Because obviously she had such a wait, the long wait the first time, and have the mentality to do it again, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's a question of confidence, because it happens a lot that the VAR is quite long. The VAR's decisions are long, and I know I saw that the Germany's manager criticized that about the fact that it should be clarified, because it's too long for the players, and so it can have impact on the performance, the way they shoot, the way they concentrate themselves.
And only 10 minutes after Germany equalised, they took the lead in very fortuitous circumstances. So Léo, do you want to describe this, because you got a feel for Denmark for this one?
Yeah, to be honest, it was how can I say that? I don't really have the words, but sorry, I don't find my words.
It's okay. So in that case, I'll describe the action.
Yeah, it's
so I think it was Thorsten in defence. Germany play a long ball forward. Thorsten heads it away. It comes straight back to her, and so she hoofs it clear. But in doing so, she belts it straight into the face of her teammate Snerler, who goes down, obviously, because she's been smacked in the face from point-blank range. But then the ball rebounds directly into the path of 𝐊𝐤𝐤𝐤 Brandt. And suddenly it's a 3-on-2 for Germany. Brandt goes into the area, switches it left, where Schürrle is unmarked, and she finishes well. But yeah, I mean, it's a good finish, but also you can't account for that kind of thing. I'll be honest. So one thing, I have a real problem with this goal. And there was no controversy over this. No one was complaining. But I don't understand why play was allowed to continue. Any other head injury in the match, the referee blows to stop the play immediately. So why doesn't it apply when it's the ball that hits your face?
Yeah. Moreover, we saw that we know that head injuries are really important for UEFA.
And also sorry, I'm irritated now. But only a minute later, she was substituted with a suspected concussion. So
yeah.
So why did the referee just stop play?
Yeah, but the thing is that it's really the referee's fault, because he has to take his decisions, because he sees a player taking a ball in their head. And when you know how hard is a ball, a real ball, not the one we play with friends, it really hurts when you take one. So yeah, it's
that hard.
Yeah, that's hard. So it should be the referee's decision to stop the game instantly, because
this wasn't a sorry, carry on.
Yeah, just to give an example, 3 weeks ago I was playing football with friends, and we don't use balls like Pro do, so it's not that hard. But I took a ball in my head, in straight into my face, and I fell down, because it's completely it's impossible to keep playing during 10 or 15 seconds. I didn't know where I was for just 10 seconds. It was a blackout. So it's the same thing for the pro, and it's even harder because they use ball more hard ball. So yeah, I don't understand the referee for this decision.
Yeah. Again, but to highlight, there was no controversy. Nobody was complaining. It's not as if she's done something wrong, the referee.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't understand it. I don't understand that rule where it's only in certain circumstances where the referee blows for a head injury. Whereas that, not only was it such a clear thing with her head, but also it's immediately led to an opportunity for the opposition. So yeah. It's not as if you could sort of let play continue and whatever. No, the opposition has got a clear advantage, and there's a
goal, not only
with a head injury.
That's a good assist.
Personally, but Germany defeated Denmark. But the real performance of the round, I guess, was Sweden. Before the game, I was highlighting the threat of 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 for Poland, but Sweden completely marked her out of the game. It was such an impressive performance. And actually, Sweden caused all sorts of issues. Considering Germany really struggled to break Poland down, that might be to do with the fact they had two wingers that cut inside, cross with their other foot. Whereas Sweden had a right footer on the right-hand side, sort of beating the fullback, getting low balls in, but all three of their goals were headers, I believe. So, oh goodness, what did you make of that Sweden performance? Were you impressed? Were you surprised?
Oh, it was quite solid. As you noticed, they scored 3 goals from a header, and it's not just only on set pieces, because the first 2 goals were in the open play. So it shows how bad they wanted to win duels against defenders, and it's rare to see a goal with 3 goals all scored by headers.
And also, we should point out, it's not as if they were 3 centre-backs, or like Blackstenius is a tall striker. Blackstenius got the first one, but 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 was the second, and she's not short, but she's their number 10.
And 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 scored the opener.
Oh, I thought that was Blackstenius. I thought 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 was...
I
think 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 came... 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤, she was substituted on, and she was the assist for the 3rd goal, I think.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it was 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 for the last.
Yeah. So she's not. I mean, again, she's tall, but she's not exactly renowned for her heading. But it was a lovely glance finish. So actually, in strange ways, they were all headers, but they're three very different headers.
Yeah. If you see the second one, so it was just at the beginning of the second half. I really liked it because it was a 1-2 between the two players on the right wing, and then a cross in the box and a player coming from behind and just put. It was a lovely collective goal. This one, I think it was.
It really was.
Yeah, the third was a set piece, and I think the second was the best of the game.
I completely agree. That little 1-2 at the edge of the box, and then the underlapping run was really good. In fact, believe it or not, of all the matches so far at the Euros, that was the highest XG created. So 3.83. That's the most chances created in a single match so far at the tournament. Because obviously, again, in my preview before the tournament, I was saying that Germany were without doubt the favourites to go through. But as it stands, Sweden are first. Sweden are top on goal difference, and Germany are second. So Sweden only need to draw the next game, and they'll win the group. I suppose my question is, are you more impressed with Sweden than Germany so far in this tournament? Because Germany have had to kind of do it the hard way. They had a sort of like a tricky first game and sort of had to slowly break down Poland and missed a lot of chances. This one, they had to come from behind. They also missed a lot of chances, but they have won 2 games. Whereas Sweden, in their first match against Denmark, were sort of not at their best, but they won. And this one, they completely blew them away.
Yeah, I was impressed by the Swedish performance yesterday because, as you said, on the first day, Germany beat Poland 2-0, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And yesterday, not only Sweden scored 3, but they really dominated the game. So, yeah, and from what I know about women's football, Germany is a powerhouse in the landscape, and Sweden aren't that big. So, yeah, I can only be surprised. I'm more surprised that Sweden won their 2 opening games in that way, because you can win just because you have a penalty, for example, at the end of a game and win a 1-0 match not really deserved. But the thing is that Sweden really deserved their win, so it made a good impression on me.
Well, Sweden, Sweden have a good side for a long time. I think, I might get this wrong, but I think they won the first women's Euros. I might be wrong about that. So I think they have won a major tournament before, but that was back in the late 80s, early 90s. But they regularly reach semi-finals, quarterfinals. You know, they are a good team.
Yeah.
The last Euros, they got to the semi-final where they were beaten by England. The last World Cup, they got to the quarterfinals, I think, and I'm fairly certain they lost to England again. So, you know, they are a good side. I'll be honest. Blackstenius, the Arsenal striker, had she scored all of her chances, she would have had 5 goals in this. Not just a hat trick; she should have had 5. She missed some really good opportunities. And when you have that, ability to create chances, then you can hurt teams. It's when you win without creating much, that's where the concern is, as opposed to missing a lot of opportunities. Actually, that brings me to my next question. So in this talk, this is a bit disingenuous because, or rather misleading, because obviously Group D haven't played their second rounds of matches yet. But in all the tournaments so far, which team do you think has created the most goal opportunities, or rather the highest XG?
I would say Spain, because they scored 5 against Portugal and 6 against Belgium. So
created the highest XG.
Oh, that's interesting.
So Spain have scored 11 goals with an XG of 6.
Okay, so
obviously we're talking now. Obviously, with with world-class players, especially world-class forwards, you expect them to outperform their XG. And it does seem that basically everybody in the Spain team is overperforming because they are at their peak right now. They really are. Although you do wonder what will happen if, say, one or two of them, say in one of the knockout rounds, if they suddenly, return to the average as opposed to overperform. Could therefore, like, suddenly Spain have one of those matches like Germany where they miss a lot of opportunities, right? That could be a thing how to beat them. But Spain are second.
Would it be Sweden?
Sweden are third.
Okay.
They've created 5.44 and again have only scored 4 goals. So they've actually underperformed by 1.44. Spain have overperformed by 5 in just 2 matches.
Yeah, so I don't have any idea.
Germany. So Germany, despite the fact they've only scored 4 goals, 2-0 in the first, 2-1 in the second, they've created 6.26.
Okay. And Spain were 6?
6 exactly.
Okay. So they created...
Which speaks volumes that Germany are really missing a lot of opportunities, but they are creating a lot. So you do wonder at some point, A, if that's going to bite them in the behind. Or secondly, if it's all going to click, at what point does it all, like, people take all their chances and suddenly Germany win 5-0 against a top 5 team and suddenly they look incredible.
Do you think it can happen
again?
Do you think it can happen against Sweden?
I don't know. Sweden was so good defensively against Poland, but again, that's Poland. They only had to mark Payet out of the game, whereas Germany have such good quality everywhere. What's particularly impressive with Denmark was that they weren't. So Denmark looked to be playing quite a high line, which is dangerous against good teams who have quick players. But it also meant that it nullified players like Nørsken, who, like, these playmakers who sit deep. Denmark weren't giving them much opportunity to build up from the back to play through midfield. So that's interesting. I think Sweden, considering Sweden only need a draw, I think Sweden could do it. I think Sweden are more than capable of getting a draw against Germany, or certainly Germany are capable of missing too many chances and not winning. Now, here's the hypothetical for you, right? Because now we're going to look at today's matches. So England against the Netherlands, France against Wales. First of all, England cannot lose against the Netherlands or they're out. There's already that stage after one match. Secondly, if England draw against the Netherlands, then they are relying on France beating the Netherlands in the last round of matches and beating Wales heavily to qualify for the next round. So essentially, England need to win this match, which is a lot of pressure, but it's also very exciting. But here's my hypothetical. If all the groups end as they did now, and England finish second, the final would be Sweden in the quarterfinal, Norway or Italy in the semi-final. So suddenly it looks pretty good for finishing runner-up in this match, doesn't it? Or in this group, rather. And then, although you got to feel for the team that wins the group, because hypothetically, whoever wins the group, say it's France, France would have to play in their group England and the Netherlands, Germany in the quarterfinal, and Spain in the semi-final. That is, those are the 5 biggest teams in Europe, and you have to play them one after the other just to get to the final. I mean, again, it's a hypothetical because obviously still got a long way to go yet. But one side, much like the Club World Cup, one side of the draw has really opened up, especially if Germany finish second. Yeah,
for tonight's game, I think France will beat Wales. You explained in a previous show that Wales were the weakest team in the group, and they impressed me about on how they played against England during the victory. So, you recall that England now have to beat Netherlands, so it will be quite interesting to see that game. I think more than France versus Wales, because it's not a lot of suspense in that game.
It's a minor miracle. Without being disrespectful, it's a minor miracle Wales got to this competition. Unlike Poland, both teams are in their first ever tournament. at the women's women's football. Poland have a couple of top quality players, like say Payal plays for Barcelona, whereas Wales are missing that level of player, that sort of level of quality. So yeah, and again, their first ever tournament, they're inexperienced at this level, and they are in the hardest possible group. So it was always going to be tough for Wales, and you find it hard for them to get a point anywhere. Yeah. I mean, you find it hard to believe they'll get a goal. But you know what? If Auckland City can do it in the Club World Cup, maybe Wales can do it as well, right?
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, England, Netherlands. I wonder if it's, again, go back to the Club World Cup, I wonder if it's a situation like Group B where you'll have 3 teams finishing on 6 points. And then it's just a case of who's got the most goals against Wales or who's lost by the fewest goal against the rivals. So I think that hypothetically, if England beat the Netherlands and Netherlands beats France and they all beat Wales, they're all on 6 points. Yeah. So it could be that close. And rightly so, because they're 3 very good teams. They should probably never have been drawn in the same group together, considering, look at, say, Group A, where you've got Finland, Iceland, Norway, Switzerland. You know,
Netherlands beat Wales 3-0.
3-0.
That's it, yeah. So it would be interesting just for France to see if they can at least reach a three goal difference tonight.
I think they will. I think they are a faster, more agile side than the Netherlands, and I think one-on-one dribbling, I think, is where they're going to get it. I think they can beat their defender and they'll get in behind the Welsh defence. I can see this getting quite ugly. Although we've already seen 5 goals and 6 goals in this tournament so far, but they were the same team. Yeah, England, Netherlands. I think on paper you would say England again should be beating the Netherlands. They are much higher than them in the world rankings. Their squad is filled with top level talent and some world class players in several positions. And the Netherlands, to be fair, have top quality players as well, but they just don't have the depth that England do. Yeah, do you see England being able to do this?
I have the same. I think the same as you. I think England should win this game, but France have shown that that England could be beaten, and beaten in a way in the when playing. So because France did a really good game against England, they not only defend and strikes back. So I think England will win this one because they need to. It's not a dead game or when they can put on the substitutes and everything. It's quite important because I think they would be eliminated if they lose now.
Yes, they will.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a knockout. It's a knockout game for them. Yeah. So I think England will win this one. But it's funny to see the parallels between the women's Free Lionesses and the men's Free Lions, because they're a team. They are teams with a big depth, a lot of great players and everything, but they struggle in international competitions.
I mean, I've got to say I disagree slightly because obviously they reached the World Cup final 2 years ago and they won the Euros 3 years before. But so they've been a lot more successful than the men's team.
Yeah, but I think I'm a person. If we reach a final, it's a defeat for France in the 2022 World Cup final. It's a defeat. So they need to win a title. England hasn't won a World Cup since 1966, if I'm not mistaken. Did a women's team have won a World Cup?
But they are, of course, the holders for the European Championship.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Okay. I was mistaken about the women's.
Although
team.
To be fair, actually, you're not inaccurate because obviously the English men's team have also reached 2 finals, but unlike the women's, they've lost both of them.
Yeah, the 2021 and 2024. Yeah.
But there is something. There seems to be something wrong with this. Not wrong. It's too early. Again, like you can lose to France. There's nothing wrong with losing to France. France are a good side. They are in a difficult group. This can happen to any top quality side when you're drawn in a very, very difficult group. But the problem is, before the tournament, there were rumblings of discontent. You had players like 𝐊𝐢𝐜𝐤, who was one of the world's best goalkeeper, actually was the world's best goalkeeper for 2 years running, back in 2022 and 2023. Suddenly announcing a retirement because she's no longer the starting goalkeeper for England. That kind of stuff can really surprise you. Defender Millie Bright, who's one of the leaders in the pack, is one of the best defenders we have. She withdrew from the squad to take care of her mental health, which is, completely up to her, and all respect for her for doing that. But you still lost a lot of leadership in the group suddenly. And you do wonder if that actually has taken its toll. Because again, in the build-up to the tournament, it didn't seem everything was rosy. But as you said before, England have the quality to do this, and more than just the team, the manager does. Sarina Wiegman has been in 4 competitions and reached 4 finals. She's won 2 of them. She is the manager to have in tournament football. It's just a question of whether this is one tournament too far with this group of players. And you do wonder. I mean, for example, if England were to lose this match, that would almost certainly be the end of Wiegman as manager of England, which would seem shocking considering, again, sort of winning the European Championship 4 years ago, winning the World Cup reaching the World Cup final 2 years ago. It's a hell of a body of work. But if anyone can do it, it's her, right?
Yeah.
And of course, against her previous employers, the Dutch. So the Netherlands won the European Championship in 2017. They knocked England out in the semi-finals. And then they reached the World Cup final in 2019, losing to the United States, I believe. So Wiegman has lost both World Cup finals she's been in, but she's won both European Championship finals she's been in. So you're going for an England win for this one, are you?
Yeah, and I hope you too.
I think so. I think I was disappointed with the first performance, but I think you're going to see a reaction. I think there are too many experienced in the starting 11. There are too many experienced England players to let that pressure get to them, I think. And you also have a lot of creative players and a lot of dangerous players. And again, the opening 10 minutes against France. I mean, and it's only 10 minutes, but England were the better side for 10 minutes, and they could have scored if they were slightly luckier. Who knows what would happen after that? So we are talking margins, right? I hope they play, as opposed to can't lose, which is the must. I hope they go for the win, because they're always better when they're front-footed and dominating.
You keep your destiny into your hands.
Yeah, that's essential, isn't it? Also, just a word on the Dutch captain, 𝐊𝐢𝐜𝐤 Spitzer. She got her 245th cap in her last match. 245 caps. She is the most capped European player ever in men's or women's football. That's astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's. Can you repeat the number?
45. And also, I should point out, she's only 35. It's not as if she's 40 something. She's in her mid 30s, and plenty of women's footballers play well into their late 30s as well.
Okay, so she has still 3 or 4 years to play, maybe. So it's impressive, as you say.
What a performer. Right. Yes. So England against the Netherlands, France against Wales. They're your women's matches, matches at the Women's European Championship. And then, of course, tonight you've got the second semi-final of the Club World Cup, where Paris Saint-Germain will take on Real Madrid. So big matches. Make sure you catch those, and make sure you catch us again tomorrow. I say us. I'm not going to be here, but I'm sure Leo will be with some other less attractive co-hosts. Right, so that's where we're going to leave things. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Make sure you go on our social medias, follow us, subscribe, etc., etc. And thank you for joining us. And
thank you, Daniel. Yeah.
You're welcome. Yes, and some of us will see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.